Hey, what's going on out there? I'm Sean Devine. Hope you all are doing well. Today, we are going to do an in-depth review of the new MDR-M1 closed-back studio headphones from Sony. We're also going to compare them to these headphones, which are the MDR-7506. I'm sure many of you are familiar. They've been the studio standard for a long time. I've actually owned these for 20 plus years. Yes, that's right. They were my first studio headphones. Just how good are the new Sony MDR-M1s? Are they that much of an improvement over the 7506? We're going to cover everything you need to know about the M1. I did receive the MDR-M1 for review and testing purposes. These are my honest experiences and opinions based on utilizing these in a professional environment for production, recording, mixing, and mastering. First up, we have to talk about the newly designed ear cups on the MDR-M1. I can tell you they are much more comfortable, much more soft, designed for all-day comfort, and I can attest that they are effective. But not only have they improved the comfort, they've also greatly enhanced the isolation. So even when I've been recording with the M1 versus the 7506, I'm not getting nearly as much headphone bleed as far as that sound coming out of the cans into the microphone. I'm also getting better acoustic isolation. When you put these cups to your head, you get a nice seal. It will keep out a lot of that outside noise that may be around you in your room, so you can stay focused. The M1s are also incredibly lightweight, even more lightweight than the 7506, coming in at just 216 grams. Another notable feature with the new M1 is that you now have a replaceable cable on the left side of the can, and it comes with two different cables. So you have a shorter cable with a 1/8 connection. You can hook this up to your computer, your phone, or your laptop. And these are also only at 50 ohm, which means you're not going to need an external amplifier to get the most out of the M1. You also get a longer cable with a 1/4 adapter for studio use. That's right, no more tangled, coiled cable. You can just simply unplug that on the M1. Finally, the M1 cans fold inward so that they can then lay flat, which means you can easily slide these in a book bag or a gig bag, take them on the go, and take up less space. Let's talk sound and performance for the new M1. They feature a completely redesigned high-resolution driver that can reproduce the entire frequency spectrum. I've actually tested this in my mixing, and I've had no issues hearing sub-bass down to 30, even 20, getting the sensation, which is not something I could say about the 7506. The top end, or the high frequencies in the M1, are detailed yet smooth. They're not brittle or harsh, whereas the 7506 can sound more strident or sibilant in the top end. The high-end frequencies in the M1 are not that way. I've also been very impressed with the mid-frequency response of the M1s. In my experience, many pro headphones feel like all bass and treble, but the M1 gives you a complete picture and more of those all-important mid-frequencies. As far as describing the sound in terms of real-world professional use, I would describe it as natural. It's not overly hyped or exaggerated as some professional headphones tend to be. Many of you out there might have experienced this, where you're listening to one of these headphones and you're quite impressed by the low end or the brightness of the highs. However, when you take that outside of the studio, you find that your translation is not there. Your mixes don't sound the way they did in the studio. The translation for me in both mixing as well as mastering with the MDR-M1 has been very spot on. And for a closed-back headphone, that's not something that I can say a lot about many other cans that I've used. There's now a tuned port that is on the top of the can to ventilate and control the bass response. So you're going to get a tight and accurate low end with punchy transients for the beat-driven music that you may be working on. Now, I think if you were to directly compare the M1 when you first try them out to some of these hyped headphones, they may not sound as exciting, but that's not what we're after. We're after accuracy, precision, and translation in the studio. I can say with confidence that the MDR-M1 have outperformed many of my other headphones that I have trusted in the studio as far as translation and accuracy. It's an inspiring premise for me to be able to use one pair of headphones for all these tasks and not have the hassle of having to switch out between 2 or 3 different pairs. I'm getting the isolation as well as the natural soundstage to promote the best performance in terms of recording, and then I'm getting the accuracy, the frequency response, and the translation for mixing and mastering all with the M1. Thought it might be helpful to do a quick comparison between the new MDR-M1 and the MDR-7506 in terms of pros and cons. So let's start with the 7506. These are extremely affordable. They come in at just around $99 US, so you're not going to break the bank, and they're a great starter set of headphones. The 7506 has a familiar and versatile sound. You'll find these in professional studios and broadcast stations all over the world, and in terms of recording, I would say they're a great choice because they are very detailed in the top end, and you can hear subtleties in performances and critically make decisions during that process well. Cons for the 7506, I would say that there is definitely less isolation when comparing them to the M1, especially if you have these turned up pretty loud while you're recording. I would say the 7506 again is a good critical tool. However, the top end is more harsh and can be fatiguing over time depending on how loudly you're monitoring, whereas the top end on the M1 is much smoother. You're not going to be able to easily monitor sub bass and some of those frequencies below around 40 hertz. Pros for the M1, they're lightweight, coming in at just 216 grams, all day comfort, nice soft ear pads and supple headband. The bass response in the M1 compared to the 7506, it's no contest. These are tight, they go very low, great transient response, and you're gonna have low end that translates outside of the studio. I love the fact that the M1 are an objective reference for mixing and mastering. So again, we're not talking about an overly hyped headphone that's meant to just excite you from a listening perspective. You're gonna get accuracy in terms of these sonically critical applications. The M1 now has a removable cable. It comes with 2 different cables for using in the studio as well as consumer devices. As far as cons for the M1, I really don't have one, but if I had to be nitpicky, I would just say those of you out there who may be used to a more hyped sort of frequency response, the low end could seem a bit underwhelming for some of you out there who aren't used to it. I would encourage you just to stick with it. You will find that that bass is going to be much less misleading than it can be in some of the hyped models. All right, y'all, so by the time you see this video, the new Sony MDR-M1s should be shipping. I will put a link in the description below if you want to check them out. I fully intend to utilize these nearly exclusively in my studio because I just don't have an option that's this versatile. I've also been overly impressed with the way they're translating, so I'm going to stick with them. But I will make sure to keep you posted on the longevity as well as the reliability over time. So hit that thumbs up if you like the video. Make sure to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. We'll talk to you soon.